Hello writers, come write with me. My name is Mykela Greenwood. I create worlds for mind adventures. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Write with Mykela. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell so we can go on this journey together. Today is the 28th of November. So leave a comment on how many words you have for the Nano Wrimo challenge. You can state words per day or the total so far. If you wrote for the challenge before watching today's videos, you should have somewhere around 46,000 words. Precisely 46,676 words. If you have 45,000, then you're still on track. Just the last 2 days, you need 2,500 words instead of 1,667. We're getting very, very close to the end of the month and close to our 50,000. Today is also Tuesday, and today we are going to add to our cave. I hope you can find your writing prompts that we used before. We've written on this cave 3 times so far. From the 3 prompts that we've done, I almost have 2,400 words. The first time that we wrote on the cave, we wrote about a peaceful cave. We used our senses, what we saw, smelled, heard, that kind of thing. And we used the emotions of peace and relaxation or fun. And then on that same day, we wrote about a second cave. And that cave was scary or, exhilarating in a kind of a negative sense. We also used our senses on this one, the sights and the sounds and the hearing. I don't think we tasted anything. I didn't taste anything, but we added emotions of fear for the second one. The second time we took out our cave, we wrote about what we found in the cave and an exit if we found one. I didn't find an exit, but we wrote about what else we found in the cave. In my cave, we had that big creature that was as big as a bear, and then you couldn't really see a neck, so she didn't know where she would stick her knife, and she didn't think the knife would kill it, but it ate the little critter, and then it went on. So that's what I found in my cave. And then the third time we wrote about before the cave. We took what we had for the cave and we wrote before the cave. And this was more of what was the plan or what was the normal. And that third prompt should go in front of the first 2. So you have what was the normal, and then you have finding the cave and what was in the cave. At least for me, that's how I pasted it together so far. Today, we're switching scenes from being in the cave with whatever else is in there, in the scary cave, or at the end of the second prompt that I gave you, which is currently the end of what we've written so far, if you pasted it together like I did. So, we're going back to the people planning with us. Excuse me. Okay, the people that were planning with us, or to the family and friends that were on the picnic with us, or whatever. Somebody that is missing us, or our characters. I don't know if your character was on a picnic, or, maybe they were on the picnic and they went to water the grass. Euphemism alert. Precisely, that's indirection. Anyway, and when they went to water the grass, your character accidentally found the cave. So if that happened, then you have people looking for you. They're like, where is he? He was at the picnic and he's gone too long. Whatever. Or if you had a plan to explore the cave, but surely I don't know if you had a plan. Maybe you planned to do it, but surely somebody is missing your character. Maybe your character went for a run and your neighbor saw him leave or her leave, but then your character normally runs 30 minutes or an hour, and now he or she's not home. What would your character's neighbor do? Are the people who are missing your character looking for your character? Will these other people search themselves, or will they ask law enforcement to do it? Like the neighbor that saw you go for a run, do they even know your route to run? Will they go on that path, or will they call the cops and say, this person is missing? Maybe they'll wait. They'll be like, okay, they're missing. Let me document the time I saw him leave, and then if I don't see him tomorrow, then I'll call the cops. So who is missing your character? And is it the people that you were on the picnic with? Was it the people you're planning with? Is it a nosy neighbor? So this is just a paragraph or a page to add a scene. And then the next time we pull this out, we'll switch back to being in the cave to see what else you find and if you can find an exit. Now, if you don't think anyone is missing your character, then your character is probably on a deserted island. But then someone else could find the island in your character's tracks. Otherwise, someone should miss your character. Like I said, a nosy neighbor, the delivery man, your character's girlfriend, boyfriend, mother, or your mother that you didn't call. You might be like, okay, I have his neighbor's number. Okay, have you seen so-and-so? My son has not called me, or my daughter has not called me. So just anybody that you can imagine that would miss your character or notice that the character is gone. And this could be several days. Maybe they had packages and the packages are building up, and that's how the neighbor notices they have packages on their porch and they don't usually leave them. So just anyone that you can imagine to notice that your character or you are gone. So have fun and see what you can come up with. Welcome back, writers. Now, I'm going to read what I wrote. What happened? Asked Commander Thurnell as Brambert and Choleric ran up. They braced themselves on their knees and tried to catch their breath. Then Missant finally caught up to them. What happened? Asked Commander Thurnell again. Where's Zolaria? I didn't see her, stated Brambert as he glanced nervously over his shoulder. I think we need to keep going. Draver suddenly looked up from his screen. Brambert is right. They are pursuing. Go, said Commander Thurnell. Let's get underground. No one hesitated. They all ran as fast as they could to their underground entrance. Brambert reached there first and pushed in the coat in the trunk of a tree. A hole in the ground opened up and the other people jumped in. It wasn't too deep, but it was deep enough that Brambert didn't come close to bumping his head. They quickly closed the door to the hole and then pressed a button on the wall that let off a silent alarm. The lights in the tunnel and the whole underground flashed a few brief seconds, and everyone within the underground started turning off all electronics that had signals. Commander Thurnell didn't want to lock Zolaria out, but he pressed in the code that would lock the door to their tunnel, and only certain commanders knew the code to unlock. Zolaria was not one of those. Did I pronounce that differently last week? I think so. Solira. The five of them hurried quietly down the tunnel and away from the door. They still didn't want the enemy to detect their presence or life signs, and they felt that they would be safer once they went deeper underground. Finally, they arrived in a chamber that had thick concrete insulated all around, and even though the four didn't know the plans of the other three before, they would give their reports. They all reported that they felt that one of the four had reached the control room and shut off the cameras and alarms. As they reported, they realized that the three of them hadn't done that, so it must have been Zolaria who had done it. They all reported being very careful to not walk in sight of a camera, and they all reported the times they were supposed to heed. We must have missed some piece of information, stated Commander Thurnell. Maybe we missed a camera. The three shook their heads. None thought that was the case because they had been on the lookout for extra cameras and drones. Maybe a person or animal got out, stated Choleric. I mean, It was so surreal. Everything seemed as planned. Then suddenly the lights were flashing, but there was no sound. "We don't have sound here," stated Brambert. Commander Thurnell glanced at Brambert. "Yes, but we don't want them to find us. We know where they are." He thought a moment and thought it was significant. He briefly wondered if Maldrake was taking away the sight of people or animals. Shook his head to himself. "And none of you saw Solera?" They all shook their heads no. "I didn't pick her up either," stated Draver as he slightly raised the machine that was currently off. "If she got out, it wasn't on this side." "That means Grant might have gotten out on a different side," offered Vincent. "Possibly," stated Commander Thurnell. "Well, if they are out there and not in our enemy's compound, then they may try to return to us, but we can't count on that. We also can't count on them being themselves if they do return. We don't know what Maldrake is doing." They made no conclusions, but Commander Thurnell would inform his scouts to keep a lookout for some of their team when they explored around the outskirts of the compound. Commander Thurnell dismissed the volunteers and Draver, and then he headed to see Commander Niacin. When Commander Thurnell entered the chamber with Commander Niacin, everyone looked up, and most cleared out. "I take it things didn't go well," stated Niacin. "I already saw the warning lights, and we shut off equipment, but there's something more." "Solera didn't make it back," replied Commander Thurnell. Commander Niacin rose to his feet. "Solera? You thought she could handle the most dangerous part?" Excuse me. Commander Thurnell briefly closed his eyes and shook his head. He motioned for Commander Niacin to sit down, and he also sat. "Solera, how do I say this? Well, I believe, but I don't know for sure. I believe she knows or has access to the old ways. She had the best chance of getting to that control room." And the others reported that the lights on the cameras went off and the cameras stopped moving. So she was successful. "Now, I'm going to ask you to show me one of your maps and show me if she could exit on a different side." They discussed things, and first Commander Thurnell showed Commander Niacin the map he had shown Zolera to get to the control room, and then to the prisons. From there, Commander Niacin figured out the ideal possibility of an exit and several other exits that were possible but not ideal. Then for several minutes he studied their large paper maps. There was a lot of land around the compound that was marsh area, but there was a swath of area on the other side that had some woods that were closer to the compound area. Commander Niacin asked if someone knew her mission and knew her timing so they could more closely guess her exit. Commander Thurnell called the other volunteers, and they gave the time from when the cameras went off and when the lights started flashing. Then Commander Thurnell followed her path on the map from the control room to whereabouts she should have been on the map given the time. The other volunteers looked on, and they didn't understand Commander Thurnell's elation. But then Commander Niacin said, "That means if she exited, she used the best choice on that side of the compound. Do you want me to put a team together and go around?" He leaned down and studied the large map for a few minutes. "We could go around this way." The three volunteers were ready to volunteer again, but Commander Thurnell shook his head. "No, not yet. We can't keep losing people. We lost Grant and Tom." "But if she's out," started Missing. "If she's out," continued Commander Thurnell, "she's resourceful, and she'll find her way back to us. If she's not out..." He could not bring himself to even finish his sentence. From the reports, if they didn't make it out, then Maldrake would use them for his science experiments. After the two commanders left the room, Brambert said quietly, "I'm betting she's out. But we weren't allowed any electronics with signals to go in. What are you saying? Asked Missant. Are you suggesting? Started Caloric. I'm not sure, stated Brambert. Ask around and find out who Commander Niacin would put on a team to go around the marshes and explore the woods on the other side. Then we will decide what to do. Caloric sighed. I'm with you, man, because I don't want Celera to be in Maldrake's clutches. She just seems to know stuff sometimes. They agreed and went back to their own things until either there was another mission or they decided to put together their own mission. Okay, writers, that's what I have for today's writing prompt. I can't wait to read your writings, so send them to WritewithMykela@gmail.com. Truly, I never envisioned the writing prompt with the 2 caves to turn into a story. And now it has, so it automatically has copyright protection, as we discussed in the video for Season 2, Episode 17. And I've had more fun than I thought when I first wrote about the scary cave. But that's what happens sometimes. You just have a little thought and you go with it, and then it turns into something else. Now we are building a story together. And I've tried to give you ideas to add to your cave without dictating that your story is to sound like what I'm going to write. We will definitely pick this up again. I'm trying to pace us a little, have 3 to 4 Tuesdays between adding to this. Although I know it was much longer between the first writing prompt about the cave and the second one. I just kept thinking about that first cave. It's like, oh, I should go back to it. Oh, I should go back to it. And then finally I was just like, I'm going back to it. So there was a longer period there between the first one and the second one. But then I think I've done about 4 weeks between the second and third, and now the third and the fourth one. Also, a funny note. I was looking for my writing prompts for the cave, and I found a script titled The Cave. But it was a chapter in City of the Ancients. If you're on this journey with me, then perhaps you remember the cave where the siblings found the map room and the orb stones. That just goes to show you that caves have many uses in stories. The next time we pull this out and add to it, we will switch back to our character or ourselves. Some of you were writing in first person in the cave, and we will continue to explore the cave. Today I added 1,226 words to the cave, so not quite what I need to do for Nano Wrimo, but still it is close. If I added more cave exploration, then I could easily get the 1,667 words. I hope you found it fun and fairly easy to do the Nano Wrimo challenge so far, and I hope you're almost to the 50,000 words by November 30th. Leave a comment below on how many words you added to your cave today. Join me Friday for Tahia, Chapter 17, Battles of Mind and Will. Join me Tuesday for dichotomy. Yeah, that's how you say the word. Dichotomy and turpitude, which are some interesting words. And we'll see how they affect our writing or influence our writing. Things to think about as we do things. And don't forget to visit my website, bymykela.com, and read some character bios. If you hit the like and subscribe and the bell notification, then we will continue to write together. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate your participation. If you know someone who would like this video, then please share it with them. This is Mykela with Write with Mykela. Bye for now.